Hello friends, welcome to another video on my YouTube channel, and in this video we are going to learn about Openai Assistant. So there is this UI version of creating Assistant, and there is also API references to create Assistant. So in this tutorial we will learn how to use Openai API references to build Assistant. So I'm here inside a folder where I want to write my code. I'll open my Visual Studio Code, my code editor, and meanwhile let me zoom a bit here. Okay, now the first thing we'll do is that I'll create virtual environment. I'm using venv package. So it has created a virtual environment. Now I'll activate that. In my case, since I'm using Linux, it is source and the path to activate. But if you are on Windows, you need to, I guess, use your venv name and then scripts and then activate. Okay, so let me activate my virtual environment. So the first thing we're going to do is install some dependencies. There will be Openai Python -.env to read the environment files, and I guess it's it. I'll hit enter. So it will install all the required dependencies. Now let me come here. The first part is this. Okay, so I have this code interpreter IPython notebook, and let's understand each part. So first I'll select the kernel. Now what we will do is that we will first read the environment file. It will ask me to install few packages in order to see this coming. So I'll say yes. And before we move forward, I would like to show you that there is .env.example. This is the key names that we're going to use in our env file, and Openai API key will be your Openai API key. And assistant ID, we are not going to use that at this very moment, but in the later videos actually we are going to use that. Now yeah, you can see it shows true. That means we can read the environment file. Then I'll import OS to read the environment variable. Then I'll import Openai from Openai, and we will create Openai client using this Openai and passing our API key from environment variable. Now we have our client setup. So if we come here, and if let me zoom a bit. Okay, here Assistant API has 4 components. First, Assistant, threads, messages, and runs. So let's look into that. Assistant, you can create Assistant using this endpoint, and let me go to Python. This is the syntax to create Assistant. So let's create first Assistant, client, beta, assistant, and create. This will take few arguments, instructions, name of the assistant, tools. There are 3 tools. One is code interpreter, second retriever, and third is functions. In this tutorial we're going to use code interpreter and the model name. So let me create that. You can see an assistant is created. Let's look into that. So this is important thing. Assistant ID, we're gonna need that whenever we're gonna work with this assistant math tutor. Some other related stuff to math assistant, and you can see that we are going to use a tool called code interpreter. Now the way this works is Openai Assistant work. So the way it works is that you have an assistant, then you create a thread, new thread, push message into that thread. Now start a run. The run will automatically end, but it will not intimate you that it has ended. You need to retrieve run in order to make sure that it is completed. Once it is completed, the answer of the message will be there on that thread. Okay, retrieve thread. So this is how it works. Again, you create an assistant, create a thread, put a message on the thread, start the run. Now look for the run to complete. Once the run complete, you will have the assistant message on the thread. You can read more about the capabilities of these assistant on official documentation. Now I'll create a thread. Let's see what it holds. So thread has these 3-4 things: thread ID, created at, metadata, and object name. Okay, you can pass metadata into this thread so that it will live until the thread leaves. Then now let's put a message on the thread. For that, what we'll do, we'll call beta threads messages and create. We need to pass the thread ID, the role for that message, and the content. So this is our query. Now let's see into that. So this is the message. Now we will run the thread. For that, we'll pass the thread ID, the assistant ID with which we want to run that thread, and any additional instruction you want to pass on. So I'll run the thread, and if immediately we look here, you will see that it is queued. So my thread is on queue to run. Now let's retrieve the status. For that, we are going to use runs.retrieve method and pass the run ID and thread ID. Now if you look here, it is completed. Once it is completed, we can retrieve the list of messages on that particular thread. So we'll pass the thread ID here, and let me just show you. Let me copy. I think my Visual Studio Code is not working properly. Yeah. So this is the thread or thread messages. Okay. Now you see there is data and it is an list and it has messages. So this is the solution message, came from OpenAI. This is again the solution message. This is our original question. So our whole conversation lives on that thread, and OpenAI has functionality to truncate the thread if it reaches the max token limit, and it discard the earlier messages. Now with a small code, we will retrieve the information in this messages list. So let me do that very quickly. So this is our question and this is the response we got. Okay. Now there are charges of keeping the assistant alive. So in case you feel that now the work of the assistant is complete, you can delete the assistant, and for that you need to provide assistant ID here. So let me copy that from here. Let me come back here as well. Yeah, so I'll run that and you will see that assistant is deleted, and we can get list of all the assistant beta, and then assistants, and then list, and when I retrieve this you will see it is an empty list. Okay, so one more thing is that assistant. Okay, in case you want to print that like the way I have done, so all the objects of Openai API or Openai package rather has this model dump and model dump JSON. If you use model dump JSON, it will JSONify that, it will stringify that. You can provide the indentation as well. So in this way you can see the response, and if I print this, we'll see a smooth output as well, you can see. So this is your introduction to Openai Assistant, and in upcoming videos I'm going to go through all the 3 tools. We have seen code interpreter. In the next coming videos we will look into retriever, and then we'll look into functions, and then we will look into connecting these assistant to different messaging platforms. So look out for more videos on my space, and if you like my work, please consider subscribing to my channel. That helps. Thank you for watching. Peace.